So there are 3 levels of planning basically. So when we talk about Agile and Onion, I'll show you more levels of planning. One is the release planning, second is the iteration planning, third is the daily planning. So what do you think would be a release planning?
When I'm going to release it.
So when you have, how you're going to release it. So now I have a product backlog. What are the set of features that I would release every time to my customer? What kind of a bundle it would be? Right? So the example that we discussed yesterday was, one of my release was a release for just a women's wear section by Snapdeal. Second release could be complete women wear men and kids section. Third would be living area, furniture, right? So this is my release planning. My iteration planning would be, now I know I have these requirements to be delivered in a particular release, and this release would have, let's assume, 10 iterations. And in each iterations, which requirements I would work and how I would work. Daily planning would be how I am implementing my tasks. If you look at the example, assume this cuboid as a backlog, where one small cuboid is adding to the iterations. Like I would be working on these 2 cuboids, right? And my deliverable is again a mix of similar cuboids. Like they may be different. In one of the things I might be working on just UI. One of the I would have just created an API. This is a different kind of requirements which were there, and now I have bundled them together and I am delivering it. Once I deliver it in that release, I get a feedback from a client, and they again follow a cycle. Okay, so there are 3 levels of planning involved: release, iteration, and daily. Okay, so I'll just quickly read it. Release planning is nothing but where you consider user stories or themes that have to be delivered or developed. As updated throughout the project, it reflects the current expectations that you have from the product. It's typically done within a 3 to 6 months of horizon. Iteration is typically 2 to 4 weeks, and it's a task that are prioritized and executed to transport the feature request into the working and the tested software. Then a daily planning is a typical Scrum meeting is your daily planning, where you have a 15-minute Scrum meeting, or in XP for 5 minutes. It helps you to note down the list of things that are important for you and what you will do about it. Okay? Now comes the Agile planning. So Agile planning, that as we were talking, there are 5 levels. So in a typical Agile, we start from we don't even start from a portfolio level. We generally start from a product planning, product, roadmap, release, iteration, day. So strategy is maybe a market research. Okay, how are e-commerce websites doing? Snapdeal and Jabong are already out. What are the challenges people are facing with those 2 sites? I just went out to people. I did some surveys. I am strategizing it. Portfolio is, okay, now I know people concerned. What I actually want, do I want to go with just a furniture kind of an e-commerce system, or do I want to get into both clothing and both bed and bath thing, right? Then comes the product, where I actually decide, okay, fair enough, I just want to go with the clothing section. Roadmap, roadmap is where how you decide how would you release it to the release it in the market. In release 1, I would do this, release 2, I'll do this, release 3, I'll do this. And release is again set of features that would be delivered in a particular release. Then comes the iteration. So there are multiple days in one iteration, multiple iterations in one release, multiple releases in a roadmap, multiple roadmaps in a product. Or multiple products, or maybe if I decide, okay, I'll keep bed and bath as a separate product and I'll release it under 2 brand names. That would be my portfolio. Clear?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's clear.
Yeah. So this is a Scrum planning meeting. I think we have talked enough about it. So can you quickly summarize it? Can somebody, either Mathur or maybe Aditya, can you just quickly summarize that for me? No? Okay, let me do that for you guys. Now, you know, now you have a set of prioritized list. You have a product backlog. Okay? So, based on your capacity, just a second. So now based on your team capacity, based on the total time available, based on the priority, based on the current status of the project, right, and based on the competition, you will pick up certain requirements you need to do. So this is what we were discussing initially as well. So my project has 10 requirements based on my, and we are 5 people in the team, but one of them is on leave, so I am 4. So each of us has 4 into 8 into 5, 40 into 160 hours of capacity in 1 week. So I can deliver 160 hours of effort in 1 week. And in 160 hours, probably this would not be even 8, this would be even, let's assume 5, because there would be lunch hours, there would be meetings and everything. Right? So I can deliver 100 maybe. Right? So, which features I should pick up so that I can deliver them completely in these 100 hours. So I decide I'll pick up story number 2 and story number 3. So these are again high prioritized items. I would not pick up the ones which are low, even if they fall under my 100 one. I first focus on P1s and P2s. Okay. So based on this, I pick up story number 2 and 3. Now I have decided which requirements I need to work on. I will start discussing these requirements with my product owner and try to get the complete details about it. Right? That I'll decide, try to get what is the goal of having this, why do I need that requirement, what is the acceptance criteria. Like for example, for women's wear, my acceptance criteria could be a person is able to buy it and is able to make a payment and the product is finally delivered. This is my acceptance criteria. So I would only know this in discussion with the with my client. Another acceptance criteria that I could add is if somebody is buying 2 clothes from the same brand, I offer 10% discounts. Somebody buying more than 5, I offer 20% discount, and somebody who is buying more than 10,000, I am offering 25% discount flat. So these are the things which you will discuss with your client, not with your client but with your product owner, and get them detailed out, based on which you would be creating your test requirements and you would have your coding done. So everything for these the requirement number 2 and 3 would be done in your sprint planning meeting, or you also call it Scrum planning meeting. Okay, so this is how you do your Scrum planning meeting. So generally this starts in your N-1 sprint. So currently if you are in sprint number 2, so the planning meeting of sprint 3 would start in sprint 2 in the last 1 week or maybe last 2-3 days. Your team would start spending some fixed amount of time or some part of their total effort, the total time available in doing this exercise. Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, you said about planning for the N-1 sprint at the end of the sprint. Normally, we'll be on practically we'll be on pressure in the release of the sprint. But how can we take some time to plan for the next sprint?
Why do you think we would be in pressure?
That's how it goes normally.
See, if you are working, if you have implemented Agile correctly, you would be doing a regression testing on a daily basis. You would be testing your product parallelly, right? And you would be giving a continuous feedback on almost on a daily basis, right? So yes, you are right in certain way there is a pressure, but if you are working Agile and if all the things have been implemented correctly, even in the last week of time, you would not have, firefighting kind of a situation, because you are every day the code is being checked and every day you are running your automated regression suite. Right, every day you are doing a manual test on the existing requirements, you have paired your team, you are working on it. The feedback cycles are so short that defects are found at a very early stage and they are just being implemented. And the final effort on testing could be just regression testing or maybe just doing the end-to-end kind of a testing. And we are only talking about, in the last 3-4 days, we are talking about maybe 2 hours per person, which is not a much, which is not a very high time. And when we are time boxing or everything, so 2 hours is something typically a person can easily take out. So if there are 8 people in the team, so you are asking just 16 hours from them on a daily basis. Does that answer you?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so daily Scrum meeting, as we have already talked about it, I'll just quickly read it. It's time box. We do not exceed the daily stand-up meeting or daily Scrum meeting for more than 15 minutes. So when we are approaching 15 minutes, there is always a Scrum Master or a gate or maybe a controller who keeps telling people that we are running out of time. In this, everybody is engaged. It's not a typical status meeting, so it's an informatory meeting. So you're telling everybody what you're doing, what are the obstacles, and what you would be doing today. It's not that you are looking at a team scrum master or maybe a team coach and just giving him your status. It's a discussion kind of a meeting. But one thing that you need to make sure is, since this is just a 15-minute meeting, if there is an obstacle encountered by some person and you know the solution, you do not discuss that solution in that meeting, because otherwise those 15 minutes would just go into the solution part itself. So you don't get into a solution mode. Only thing that you do is, okay, I can help you with it. We can talk later about it. Right? So the person who is stuck knows whom to reach out to get his problem resolved. That helps both, right? So everyone can lead the meeting, not just the Scrum Master, as I told, since this is not a status meeting. So it's anybody can lead this meeting. This meeting is the starting point for the day. Afterwards, everyone feels energized and can start working. So since if this happens as the first thing in a day, everybody is clear what they have to do. Even if they got stuck somewhere before they left for the previous day, they would know which person to reach out, and they will just quickly go ahead and start resolving their problem, rather than wasting few hours in the morning roaming around here and there, and then probably after 2 hours they do this meeting and they understand, oh, I have already wasted my half of the day and now I know which person to reach it and what was the solution. Right, so this should be the first thing in the morning. So, right, and the time should be fixed. If you have decided to be at 9 in the morning, make sure it starts at 9. If you are rescheduling it, there should be proper reason why you are rescheduling it. Yeah. So in one of my projects, with the way we used to do that Scrum meeting was at the end of the meeting, we used to ask the morale, do the morale check as well. So we used to just ask how is everybody feeling, and we used to have smileys drawn for that person. If somebody is not feeling good or maybe sick for some reason, so we used to have that sad smiley. He's just okay, not very happy, but he's just okay about something. So we used to have this straight face smileys. If somebody is very happy, we used to have a happy. And then in our stand-up meetings, we used to have a champion of the week. So somebody who resolved maximum problems, or somebody who performed extraordinarily or was of great help to people, is given the champion of the week. So that's again a morale boost, because you were appreciated in front of 10 people and you have your name flashing in there. And we used to also have fine system, like somebody who came late, and we used to charge him 10 rupees. And we, once those some good amount of fine was collected, we used to do party from that money.
Okay.
So these are various techniques you can have your daily Scrum meeting, just to make it little, not very boring, little exciting.
Lively. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
So these questions, that what have you completed, what do you plan, and why, what is getting in your way. Today, the next topic is sprint review meeting. So by now, I'm sure you guys would be really aware of what sprint review meeting is. So sprint review meeting is nothing where it's the meeting at the end of a sprint where you showcase what you have developed during that 2 or 3 weeks of time. So you would have your product owner, your complete team, the stakeholders, the end users probably, in that particular meeting, and you would be showcasing. End user is not the customer, not that customer, I mean for Snapdeal, not you and me, but the end user, the stakeholder who are spending their money. Okay, so who would be part of that meeting, and you would be demonstrating your development effort to them. So after this meeting, you would take their feedback and you would sense what went right and what is something that they would want to change. Like, while you were showcasing them, somebody was using Mac machine and somebody was using Windows machine when they were taking the webinar, and this found that while using a Mac machine, the font is not very readable as it should be. So it might come to you as a feedback and it would be a part of your requirement. Okay, so and when it happens again at the end of each sprint. So this is the purpose, the basic purpose of having a review meeting is to get the decision of good to go or not to go. Was that sprint accepted or not? Okay, you might have some feedback, like some changes, but there could be a case where your sprint just was complete disaster. You could not complete any of the feature. Every feature was just 50% or 60%. If that was the case, ideally we should not be even showcasing it. But if that happens, your sprint would be not to go. Case, okay. So sprint review meeting is a live demonstration, not a report. Product owner reviews the commitments made at the sprint planning meeting and declares which items he now considers to be done. So this is part from a book, but I disagree to it, since product owner is involved everywhere. He is part of your daily planning meeting, he is part of your sprint planning meetings, so he is aware of what actually is happening. It's the stakeholders who are not aware of, they are not part of your planning meetings. Right, so I differ on this line. So for me, a sprint review meeting would be where product owners and stakeholders are involved, or the representatives from the stakeholders are involved. It provides an opportunity to inspect and adapt the product as it emerges and iteratively define everyone's understanding of the requirements. Clear? This is self-explanatory.
Yeah.
Okay. So last part of any typical sprint would be a retrospective. So this retrospective is an effort of a team to improve themselves. So in this retrospective, it is a 1-hour meeting where everybody in the team gathers together in a room. They have they create a whiteboard which may be penned by either a Scrum Master or probably a product owner, which will be divided into 2 columns: positives and areas to improve. So in positives, you might say, you would mention things that were really good and you would want to continue. Or retrospective could be, or delta could be, okay, we were checking in the code in every 8 hours. I want it to be done at every 16 hours maybe. It was too fast. Since we have a very complex storage this iteration, and 8 hours is not working here. Right? So every team member has to speak. It is mandatory. It should not be a case that people are not attentive. Somebody is busy on WhatsApp, or somebody is busy looking at manicuring her nails or something of that sort, right? So everybody should be attentive and everybody should speak. If they have work, they would definitely have something to contribute in there. Right, and since it's a whole team participation, but one thing that Scrum Master needs to make sure is retrospective don't go into the personal level. It should never be a case that Sham says Ram did not support me, I went to him with the problem and he did not answer me correctly. This is not retrospective. There should be no pinpointing. If that's the case, that needs to be dealt individually. That's a conflict management. Retrospectives should focus completely on the improvement of the team as a whole team, not as an individual. Okay? And it's good to have customers if possible in these meetings. There may be certain things that customer might add to, like increasing the frequency of calls. This could be one of his inputs. It's good to have. If he is available, it's good. Otherwise, product owner, Scrum Master, and team are mandatory people to be present.
Yeah, tell me one thing. The Scrum Master is basically a person who is managing this whole sprint, right? Typically, in a traditional project, who is called a project manager. Is it the same here? Scrum Master.
Who is basically not a manager here. He is basically a servant leader here. See, since he doesn't even have authority to tell people what they need to do and what they don't need to do. It's just that he is making sure that people are not going beyond, or maybe people are working in the direction they need to work. Even in the conflict management, he doesn't get involved till the 4th level of conflict. When he sees that there is a conflict, he tries to observe that conflict and remain silent. So he's a servant leader in Agile. He's the one who is making sure things are happening and there are no distractions while teams are working, because he is not, Scrum Master doesn't have that authority. They don't have the managing authority. Basically, they're not the leaders. They are the servant leaders. They guide the team, they mentor the team, but they are not leading the team.
So suppose if I now want to implement Agile in my team, so me and and my counterpart in Dev, so we both have to have a Scrum Master, right? I mean, he's the one who is going to implement the Agile.
Scrum Master should be the one who has. Right. So he should be the one who has insight of both dev and QA team. You can't have a Scrum Master for a dev team, you can't have a Scrum Master for a test team. Before I explain this slide, I'll give you a picture. I need a pen. Give me 1 minute, let me draw some things. Okay, so the typical way I would want to do, there are various ways you can do a retrospection. So one way could be, I'm trying to draw a boat, but if it doesn't look like a boat, please ignore it. So consider this boat as your project and consider this water as the impediments. Okay. So now things you should continue doing would be the ones which are making your boat float, move ahead against the wind, right? So to move a boat, wind should be in this direction and should put a pressure at this point so that it moves ahead of this shaft, right? So things we continue doing, we put it this way. This is one of the representations, okay? So these are the parts which were going, which should continue doing it, and which are very good. Here, the impact of wind on the boat reduces, it makes it move, but then the impact is little less. So these would be the areas where we can continue doing it, even if they stop, they would not mind. Right? This part would be something, things which are happening in project, they are sad about it, then that's not impacting their day-to-day life. Right? And these are the things which we should stop doing it, which can be a part of, which can be an element for discussion, and these are the things which we should just stop doing it immediately, because they are droning my ship. They are just not working for my project. This is one way of representing your or doing your retrospective in a visual manner. So you can just go ahead and draw, and you can just ask people to come with a sticky notes or maybe a colored pens and start writing. So start doing it, stop doing it, continue doing it. Sad about start would be here. This part would be start doing it. Stop is something, okay, we are doing good, but I mean, we are not liking it, but it has not started impacting us badly. So this part would be something which is impacting us real badly, and I'm just very mad about it. Another way of doing a retrospective is sad, glad, mad. Mad is something I should stop doing it immediately. Sad is I would, if this thing stops, I would be happy. But if it's working, I'm just okay about it. Glad, I'm very happy about it, and I would just love to do this stuff again. This is another way of doing a retrospective. Okay.